Welcome to AM Best Audio.
As insurers and risk leaders confront an era defined by volatility, interconnected risks, and constant disruption, the ability to lead through uncertainty has become a core strategic skill. From emerging technologies and ESG considerations to global supply chains and cyber threats, the insurance industry is increasingly focused on how risk leadership can move beyond compliance to drive resilience, insight, and long-term value, according to Ernest Legrand, co-founder of MAPTYCS, in his book, Guardians of Uncertainty, The Making of Influential Risk Managers in the Modern World. I'm Lori Chortis for AM Best TV, and Ernest Legrand joins us now to discuss that and other key findings from his book. Ernest, welcome. So wonderful to speak with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So Ernest, can you tell us a bit about your book and the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration came from me working with global organizations for many years. And doing so, I noticed something remarkable. Professionals who quietly protect and make organizations resilient, they get rarely the spotlight. Even though their decisions influence everything, climate resilience, supply chain stability, insurance protection. For me, they are the unsung hero of the company. That's why if you look at the book cover, I put a superhero there. What I wanted to do is to know who they are. What is their background? Why did they choose this profession? And because they're all successful in the book, I wanted to know what makes them special. What is it that they value? What is their mindset? It is really that human dimension that I want to capture. If you search for a book on risk management, 90% of the books talk about techniques and frameworks. There are very few who talks about the human aspect. Actually, I didn't find any. And that's what motivated me to explore this further.
As volatility, complexity, and interconnected risks reshape the insurance landscape, Ernest, how is the role of risk leadership evolving? And what separates risk leaders that anticipate emerging risks from those that remain reactive?
Well, risk leaders, they don't want to control risk and uncertainty. They know that because they're seasoned, they know that controlling risk is a mirage. But because of the acceleration of events and risk, the risk by itself and the uncertainty has become a territory that they have to learn to navigate. And today, what I notice is the challenge for them is not really to control what they understand. They have a bigger challenge, which is to anticipate what they don't understand. Therefore, for them, foresight, more than hindsight, has become the major differentiator between themselves. And what's interesting is this. There's a paradox here, because uncertainty sharpens foresight. Uncertainty forces them to ask better questions, to challenge assumptions, to prepare for future that maybe doesn't exist yet. So most of these risk leaders, seasoned risk leaders, they invest in forward-looking data and what-if scenario. For them, uncertainty is not just an operational problem to solve. They don't even see it as the enemy. However, they rather see it as a strategic asset that they can and they will turn into an advantage for them and for their company.
With regulatory scrutiny intensifying and stakeholder expectations rising, Ernest, how are insurers and risk leaders turning compliance, governance, and ESG requirements into strategic advantages rather than operational burdens?
Well, the risk leader I talked to, they don't see ESG and compliance obligation as just a checking box exercise. Many of them, and it is interesting, say it as an opportunity And therefore, they have a mandate to increase competitiveness. They see it as a mandate to increase competitiveness rather. For them, a strong governance can result in cleaner data. It's synonymous of more discipline in the process, and as a result, better decision. But if you look at, for them, the ESG transparency, it generates trust, not only with regulators or with investors, but also with clients. So as a result, what they tend to do is to integrate ESG as part of their strategy, which goes beyond operation management. By doing so, they are transforming compliance burdens into something that they call engines of resilience and innovation.
Customize your data experience. BestLink now offers an interactive company dashboard that provides company-level intelligence in a fast, user-friendly interface featuring interactive tables, charts, and Sparkline performance histories. Customize the dashboard tiles to prioritize the insurer ratings, data, and analytics that best support your workflow. AM Best. Our insight, your advantage.
As risk professionals manage growing volumes of data amid persistent uncertainty, how are quantitative tools, advanced analytics, and AI improving underwriting, risk assessment, and enterprise decision-making?
Risk leaders are moving, generally speaking, from static data to dynamic intelligence. Technical tools, advanced analytics, and AI will allow them to detect patterns earlier, to model risk more precisely, and to make decisions faster and more consistently. The main idea is to shift analytics from back office to front line in order to improve their speed to market. They want to do it by using machine learning and agentic AI to manage property portfolio more consistently, sometimes to price emerging risks even with more accuracy, and overall to make more informed decisions. For many risk leaders facing uncertainties, analytics beyond data has become foresight for them.
Ernest, looking ahead, as technology, global operations, and systemic risks continue to converge, what capabilities and mindsets will define the most effective risk leaders?
Well, I would say that overall, effective risk leaders, they will be defined by two things. Adaptive intelligence. What I mean by that is the ability to read weak signals earlier than anybody else, to massage a wealth of data. Sometimes it is not totally structured, and connect the dot between them. They also need to, what I call, apply a decision tempo. Sometimes you have to slow down to think deeper. And sometimes you know that you need to put more people into your decision making. And what they say overall is they have to communicate clearly to keep their team and their stakeholders motivated. The second thing is the strategic courage, the courage to challenge assumption, well-established assumption. So courage sometimes to stop action because they see that the plan is not going the way they think will get the benefit they were planning, and the courage to stop action and go back to the drawing board. And sometimes as well, the courage to propose bold action, bold direction, So that's one thing. But what I think successful risk leader will have to do as well is to be able to navigate comfortably new technology, to see connection that others miss. They must be able to assist global operation with poise and with relevancy. In my opinion, to do so, they must embody some critical qualities: technical and cultural fluency to decode complexity with precision. They also need narrative clarity in order to translate data into stories and mobilize action. And the last one I think they should have is some pragmatism, lots of pragmatism actually, to act decisively when needed or when the stakes are high. I think that most of them, they see uncertainty as their own age, the place where their own resilience and leadership will rise.
And Ernest, what do you hope readers will take away from your book?
My perspective on risk and uncertainty has changed since I've been working on this book. The role of risk leaders is way beyond the technical rigor of risk management. Emotional intelligence matters more than I thought. Understanding different cultures matters. You don't manage risk in India the same way you do in New York. That's why I keep coming back to the importance of cultural fluency, this emotional intelligence, this understanding of different culture, this storytelling, the narrative that gives meanings to data. This is how to reach and influence humans to make decisions. And it is important because decisions are made by humans. System cannot do that. Laurie?
Ernest, this has been so fascinating, so informative, and I wish you all the best with your book. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Ernest Legrand, co-founder of MAPTYCS and author of the book, Guardians of Uncertainty, The Making of Influential Risk Managers in the Modern World. For AM Best TV, I'm Laurie Chortis.
Looking to get the full attention of the insurance industry? We have the platforms that will do just that. Whether it be AM Best TV, AM Best Audio, Best Review Magazine, or Best Day. Find out more by calling AM Best Advertising Sales at 908-439-2200, extension 5399, and have a great day.